Welcome to Live, Let, Thrive, a podcast about the Airbnb life, the share economy, and everything in between. Here are your hosts, Micah and Steve.
Hello, and welcome back to another exciting episode of Live, Let, Thrive. I am here with two legends today. Micah couldn't join us again, but he'll be back next week, and we have an exciting episode for you guys. First of all, this is Live, Let, Thrive, your favorite short-term, midterm, long-term rental podcast in the world, Airbnb, VRBO, all that stuff. And we have two amazing people with us, Federico, give me a second, Zimmerman, and Mike Downtown Brown are joining us. What is happening, guys?
Yeah, you need to explain why. Give me a second.
I'll explain that real quick. Oh, you want to explain it?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, so every time, here's the thing. He's always doing 1,000 things at once. Whenever I gotta, even if I do get his ear for for a few seconds to tell him something, he always tends to say, "Hey, give me a second," and he does something like on his phone or his computer. Give me a second.
You don't know what is that? There's a problem with my freaking headphones. That when you call me, I'm listening to music. When I pick up, for some reason, it goes back to the phone. I tell you, give me a second because I need to reconnect back to my headphones so I can hear you.
No, I've seen you without headphones too. Same.
Give me
a second.
Sometimes I do it on purpose just to get on your nerves.
Just buying more time, man. Just buying more time.
Mm-hmm.
So as y'all know, Federico, I talk a lot about him on the show, mostly good things. And he's my partner in Argis Rentals. This is Argis Rentals hat my wife just made me. See that?
I love this one.
It says, yeah, he made Fede one too. It says, mine says, I love arbitrage, which I do. And underneath it says Argis Rentals. Fede's has a cool AR symbol in the middle of a Texas thing. And Mike Brown has gone hatless today. Mike Brown, how you doing, Mike Brown?
I'm doing good. I need to get a hat. I have a lot of hats, but I just don't have one today. But glad to be a part of the show. And we're going to talk about some pretty good topics, get people engaged, share some good info that they can use right away. So
you're on location. You're on location, Mike Brown.
Yeah. I'm actually at one of the properties that we have. And so it's good to kind of be in the space, be somewhere different. I guess it's one of the things, if you have multiple properties, you have different places you can have backgrounds and everything else, right? So
different oil wells producing oil for you. You know what I'm saying? That's what I picture it as. And then me and Fede have been going through some stuff with the place that we have some arbitrages at, right? One of the old school arbitrages when we first got into this whole game, started some in Dallas in the grittier part of town. And they were producing back then, and now it's been a little rough, dry oil wells coming up. And so we've been on that. Yeah, time to scoot out of there a little bit. We've been in this game for a while, and we've figured out, which properties not to get. That's the most important thing we've learned, is which ones not to go after.
Do you remember the movie Titanic?
Titanic, yeah.
Yeah, do you remember when the ship is sinking and the rats are leaving? That's us right now. Man, because we know that's gonna sink. That area. Okay, can I talk a little bit about this? There's this company, this management company. They work with developers, and they've been building. They take like old buildings and they refurbish them, and they just throw it out for Airbnb. Not for Airbnb. I mean, they just let people do Airbnb, which at the beginning was great because they had like 3-4 buildings in the area. They allow short-term rentals. We build a relationship with them. We get them, we help them fill their vacancy. We always pay on time. We always being great tenants, fixing things, reporting things, collaborating with them whenever there was something fishy going on in the buildings. Then they started, setting up more buildings and developing more buildings, and we got a few leases. We brought in some of our clients and friends and investors. My man, they just keep, like, these buildings, they keep popping up everywhere in the area. They just keep building these apartment complexes. And now they're doing one that is like 5-story, huge. Like, they took it to the next level. And I already talked to people that are getting Airbnbs there, right? Now, you pull up RTNA, whatever it is, and that place is so congested, and it's unsustainable for the level of buildings and the level of quality you have. And because it's only a one market segment, you cannot tailor to families, corporate. It's only couples. It's only 1 bedroom, 2 bedroom apartments, studio apartments. So that's going to collapse at some point because, as Steve said the other day, how do you say the musical chair, Steve?
Yeah, it's the musical chairs. One day the music's gonna stop and there's gonna be nowhere to sit, and that's exactly what's happening. I mean, they came up with this great scheme. I wouldn't say a business model where they can refurbish these old crack houses, crack apartment complexes, make them look all pretty and shiny, make them look good on Airbnb pictures. Put new fixtures and all kinds of stuff. This laminate flooring, crap flooring actually, and then fill it 100% to the brim. Top of the market dollar because they're filling it with Airbnbers, with arbitragers. And it's like, wow, we discovered something cool here. We just fill these places with arbitragers because it's like a waiting list. Everybody wants to do Airbnb now. So it's 100% occupancy, the top dollar, they don't got no amenities. They don't got no swimming pools. They don't got no nothing, but they're getting top dollar rent because these people are so hungry. Yeah. They don't have locks in the outside of the building. But people are hungry to do Airbnb in Dallas, and so they're making money hand over fist. But it's going to come to a point where these people aren't going to make any money doing Airbnb. They're all just going to leave their leases. They're going to be high and dry. But by then, see, here's the thing too. They build them to fill them, and then they sell them, and that's a freaking genius thing. So whoever's left holding the bag when they're out of these cash producing oil mines, whatever, is going to be pretty messed up, dude, holding on to these places that are falling apart that, nobody wants to rent except for like crackheads.
Now, here's a trick. If you're driving in the area from time to time, you're going to find an Airbnb host that got a big tent and you can get a lot of free furniture from the street. I sent a picture to Steve like, dude, look at this. I think that was one of our old clients.
Oh wow,
we're happy to be getting out of there. Anyways,
yeah, man. I mean, we're making out. I remember the last time I was here in the podcast, I was feeling like so stressed, and it was like a very, very. I was in a very dark area. Like, man, I'm not enjoying this anymore. Like, this is not what I got here. I'm 32. Since I'm 18, I've been in the hospitality industry one way or another. I was even earlier. Right. I started. I was living when I was 18. I was living in a touristic area in Argentina. I started, working with tourists. Then I moved back to the city. I started working at American Airlines, traveling the world. Loved always the contact with passengers. Then started with the Airbnb stuff in my own apartment in Argentina. And then with Steve and with Micah. Sorry. So for me, travel it was a very important part of my life. I share this. I've been to over 60 countries, over 1 million miles. For me, traveling is a very important thing. I have a freaking map here in my arm because I just love everything that's related to countries, cultures, meeting people. And at the end of the day, it all comes down to the experience that you get and the memories you get at every place that you go, right? Now, when we started Argest, our vision was to provide, on one side, peace of mind to the hosts and a 5-star experience to the guests. And how to be dealing with places that look so bad that every experience was a negative experience, either for me or for the guest. It totally, I was like losing the goal and my focus on everything. I was so stressed because we were only just dealing with problems, and it was not supposed to be like that. It was not like that when we got started, but suddenly it became this big problem that we don't know what to do and how to pivot. And it was a down season and we had an Airbnb bust happen at the same time. And I was feeling really, really, really stressed. Now, Steve always wants to jump into deals. And I normally try to hold him back and say, hey, man, let's think it twice. But he made us jump into a great deal in Fort Worth, especially that now Fort Worth got regulated and you cannot do Airbnb everywhere. And we got a building where we are finding places that are looking nice, that we're having great guests again. When you find places that are taken care of and you take care of the places and you design them nice and the building is well maintained, guests are going to treat your place with respect. Mm-hmm. But if you're operating in a place where all of your neighbors are just doing whatever they want, they have like large dogs when you tell them not to have large dogs, if they're smoking pot when you're telling them not to smoke in the property, they're not going to care. Because I say, if everyone's doing that in the building, if everyone is just leaving the trash bags anywhere, what do I need to carry and put it on the trash bin? Suddenly people work like that. Mm. So yeah, I'm happy that we're changing back to that. We just got a property in Joshua Tree. I'm wanting to get into those new markets again, focusing on experience, on new locations. That's what we want to do and who we want to be. So feels good.
Yeah. What do you think, Mike Brown? You're being quiet over there.
Yeah, sorry.
Yeah, I mean, no, I totally get your point. I think at the end of the day, you want to be able to, obviously provide a good product, but you also just going into the deal. And that's why it's great, if you are local and you know what areas are nice, what areas are not nice, because you can kind of sense those things and kind of prejudge, I guess, or not prejudge, or vet those properties before you even step foot on them, essentially, right? Because you know those neighborhoods. Because let's be honest, I mean, the neighborhoods that are gentrifying, where you have these very, very high-end $1 million properties next to these old dilapidated buildings and things of that nature, it's a hit or miss, or it can be a hit or miss. And you always have to be mindful of the avatar of the person that you're bringing to that area, that neighborhood, because they're going to have a certain perspective when they see those other buildings, and they see, the types of people that are, either walking on the sidewalks or driving by, and so on and so forth. And perception is reality, unfortunately. And so really, just knowing that already, you just have to know that going in, because some people will try to do that and put, I guess you would say your elite avatars or your high end folks in those places, and that's not what you should be doing. They'll probably book it and they'll probably pay, but once they get there, it's going to be a different story. So, man, and that's where the complaints that you mentioned, Federico, come in, and you just want to be able to avoid that, because at that point, it just becomes a downward spiral, especially if they start to leave bad reviews and comments and things of nature. I know to some degree you can get some reviews moved, but how challenging it can be with Airbnb and some of the other platforms. And that's why you see so many people, either recreate listings or have duplicate listings and things of that nature to be able to try and combat that. And it's a lot of work, like you mentioned too before, if you get into that scenario. And so, one of the things we look at, especially if we're looking at apartment complexes, and even for the clients that we manage as well on our end, because we're starting to do management now, is, you really need to take a look at the reviews for that apartment complex. Ideally, if you could target something above a 4.3, that would be ideal, or maybe a 4.2, a 4.2. Because aside from that, more than likely, because you've probably experienced this too with those properties, even if you have a decent apartment complex or property, your maintenance team or the maintenance team on site can make or break you. Because if it takes too long for things to get fixed, then guests are going to be angry, so on and so forth, because their expectations of things getting fixed is very different than a long-term tenant, right? A long-term tenant can wait a couple of days, maybe even a couple of weeks, because they really don't have anywhere else to go, right? But for you as an operator, they're going to say, hey, I'm ready to leave, I want a full refund, so on and so forth. So, that's why it's so important. And I know we're going to talk about this in, later episodes and stuff like that with operations, to just get so in sync and almost be strategic and surgical on how you operate, how you maintain your properties, because that's what's going to help, propel you and make you successful in this business.
Let me add one thing, before I forget. I didn't mean to did I cut you off?
No, you're good. You're good.
Okay. So Federico mentioned something cool, because it was complimenting me, so it was even cooler. But he mentioned that, I've always wanted to go forward and grab more units, and let's go try this. And I think, that's a healthy part of any business, because, and I'll say it like this, because the podcast really pushed me on too, because we get these people on the show, and I'd be like, wow, they're doing this, they're doing that, and I want to try that. And I tell Federico, let's try this, let's try that. And one of the things that stood out was people were doing houses, and we had our, the little 1 bedrooms in Dallas. And luckily at that point, they were doing pretty good. They started, Federico we took, that's how we formed Argis, because we took over management of our own units, and we formed our own management company. And then we started managing for other people, and it was making good money. Now, if we would have just stayed, let's just stay in Dallas. This is safe. We know this area. We'll just get whatever AN throws at us. And if we would have stuck with that business plan, it would have been a disaster, right? Because then everything went to shit. But luckily, we were adventurous enough, and I think any business should do that, to keep trying different things. even though we're doing good profit in one area, let's go try Fort Worth. Let's go try Grand Prairie. Let's go try different cities. Let's try houses. Let's try bigger houses. Let's try night, okay. So when that other piece of the business that got us to starts to falter, luckily we have other places that's keeping our business up and making it even better. And then we get even better at acquisitions the whole time. So no business should stay stagnant. You should always keep trying different things. There's something to be said about what's it called, diversity or whatever the
diversification.
Diversification, yeah. I mean, some people say, "Oh, it's not bad. Just stick to one thing and do that perfectly." Okay, that might work, whatever. But I think I like to try different things and test different waters and see what's going to work for us. And luckily, we have, it goes back to 80-20 rule. Luckily, 80% of our business is doing really awesome, and that 20% or less or whatever it is, it's not doing so well, but we're going to move on from that. We learn from that, and we're going to be better for it.
I think you mentioned a really, really important thing is knowing when to get out or consider getting out or letting go, maybe low performing properties, so on and so forth, because believe it or not, a lot of people just feel like they're locked in, like they just have to stay, and this is just how it is, and that's not the case. So it's very, kudos to you guys for being able to be smart enough to have the data on that to be able to say, hey, let's take another look at this because this is affecting our business overall. And so I've heard of other operators doing that as well. Taking out those properties that are maybe lowest performing, so that then you can focus your efforts, because as you mentioned, Federico, that those lower performing properties took way more time away from you doing things on the other properties. So it's like, it's a win-win for you if you're able to take those off and focus and then grow at the end of the day. So.
Yeah, man. I know for me, it was a big hit. I took a vacation back in, what was it? March. I went to Japan. And I was reading, so when I was there, I tried to disconnect a little bit, just taking a little bit of time. I needed a break. When I was there, I was reading The Pumpkin Plan that Micah recommended, that from John Michalowicz, I think is the last name. Man, I was like, this makes so much sense. I got back here, and the first thing I went ahead and I reached out to one of my clients. I say, hey, listen, at this point, I think you should find another management company. I know, and that's so hard to say goodbye to basically, money that you're going to get the next month. Every month, I know that I'm going to get like 200, 300, 400, whatever it is, from this client every single month. But I was like, listen, I mean, I don't think we're a good fit. Now, was it problematic to manage the property? Not the property itself, but the clients were too involved and they were taking too much time for us. And it was too much stress to make sure that we were, when you feel that like your client is, sniffing your neck, that feeling like they're looking at everything behind you, everything you're doing. That's a feeling that we had. And actually, I got the feedback from my team. I went to my team and I said, hey, listen, Tim, I want to hear from you. What are the properties that are giving you the most headaches managing? And they came back to me and say, hey, this is okay. Let's make the change because I want you to be focused on the good things, to grow the company, to provide the best service. And I don't want to be, I don't want you to feel pressure to be working. I don't want you to feel like, again, you're not enjoying what you're doing. And if that's the case, let's have the conversation. And I reach out to them. ChatGPT did a great job writing the email. I use ChatGPT to help me write the email because it's not easy. But I explained to them, listen, I mean, we cannot provide the value that you're needing because you need someone that can manage along yourself. And that's not what we do.
Yeah.
We want to make sure you have peace of mind. We want to make sure that the property is taken care of. I'm fine with you checking the inbox. But if you're going to be reaching out to us a second after we receive a message, we have all the properties to take care of. And response rate is great because you are a super host and every one of your properties have a 5-star review on average in like both of them. So,
yeah, I mean, again, another awesome point is the fact that one, like you said before, knowing when to let those individuals go, but also you as a business owner, knowing that, hey, I know that, this money is still coming in every month, but let's take a look at the best interest of the client as well, right? So it doesn't make sense to continue to allow them not to make any money just so they can pay you, that's not right. Right. Because one, I mean, think about that relationship. And even though they may not say it out loud, and kind of the animosity that they may have about you or the company, and it's like, man, well, I feel like I'm stuck with them and so on and so forth. So, I mean, I think releasing them probably helps them more than anything, because one, that's probably going to help them grow, whether they continue to do, self-management or whatnot. And, or two, if they hire another management company, hopefully they'll be just that much better with how they do that relationship. So yeah, that's key, man. I'm so glad you mentioned that. A lot of people need to hear that, because there's so many people that are just keeping them on payroll, keeping them on the list just to have them on the list. And as we said before, numbers and quantity don't necessarily mean anything. You could have 200 units, but if you're not getting quality and value out of those 200, you always have.
I don't get impressed by the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, you shouldn't. So, I mean, it always comes down to level of effort that is reasonable for you, your team, and how much income that you're going to be able to bring in off of that, right? Because you also want to be, like you said, sustainable. So, yeah, you could do 200 units, 300, 500 units, but is that sustainable?
If you're getting $50 per unit a month, I mean, we can make 10 units with one house, and that's what it tells Steve. I think like any person grows, any business grows. And that was the process that we had, and at some point we still were like, I still loves to say like our just is the largest, like joking, right? But say, man, I don't want to be the largest. I just want to be the best. The largest. I don't want. I like that. I know. Yeah, it's a great. It's a catching phrase.
I'm gonna make it a hat.
And it's great, and I love it. I love how it sounds like dude, don't bring me more work.
Hey,
with units we don't need.
Hey, to be the largest, you got to go international now, all right?
International. Argentina's coming. Argentina is almost ready.
Okay, awesome.
So if you want to go to Buenos Aires, reach out to me. I have a beautiful two-bedroom apartment, rooftop terrace, beautiful design. One block from Don Julio, which is the #1 grill in Argentina. It's in the top 50 restaurants in the world, in the best area in Buenos Aires. So reach out to me.
He only accepts dollars, by the way. Don't pay with pesos.
What's that crap?
So Mike Brown sent a message to our group earlier. A little WhatsApp group we got, all of us dudes. He wrote, "Holy shit, y'all seen the new Airbnb host release?" What did you mean by that, Mike Brown?
It was just like another normal morning where I'm just absorbing short-term rental stuff, whether it's through articles or whatever. And I think it was the email that I got that most people maybe got too that have accounts is, hey, here's the new summer release, 23 or 22 new upgrades for hosts. That's what I saw. I was like, oh, let me go check that out. And man, I would say out of all the releases that have happened maybe in the past year, because they've come out with some pretty crappy releases, just to be honest. And they've even retracted on some stuff too that they released, and then they said, hey, that's not going to work. Let's take it away or change it again. These big companies, I mean, to continue to stay relevant, especially because the economy is always continuing to change as well, they have to keep up with that kind of stuff, right? By these types of upgrades and updates. So anyway, I checked it out, and I know, Federico, you've got the full gambit list of everything, but the ones that stood out to me in particular were the ones that were focusing on more midterm stays. One is reducing fees for midterm stays. So typically those stays that are 30 days or longer, which I thought that should have been from day one, because one, you're not paying taxes typically on those 30-day or more stays. And two, they're just staying longer, right? I mean, just like you're giving a discount typically for those 30 days or more, I mean, there should be less fees associated with that too. Because those fees can be substantial for, let's just say, a 90-day or even more stay, right? That could be an extra, depending on the price of the property, an extra $500, $600, $800. And people talk about...
Can I mention something about that? I think they realized the amount of people that were trying to take guests off platform for long-term rentals. Midterm rentals.
Absolutely. Yeah, because we could easily say, oh, yeah, we don't you don't have to pay that $600 or $800. Just book with us. I mean, that's nothing for us because we're going to get that money anyway, either way. But they would rather have the savings and book directly with us.
And you're sure to land the booking.
Yeah, get the booking. So yeah, that was a smart move on their part. So we'll see how that works out. The other one was to be able to look at comparables for pricing from the calendar. So correct me if I'm wrong, Fede, but you can compare, let's just say, one or more properties and their price points to your price points in your calendar to see, okay, well, today I have mine at $250. Most properties in the area have theirs at $230, $220. So to me, it sounds like they're trying to shift into the pricing optimization and price optimization, kind of like Price Labs and Beyond Pricing and all those guys, which is crazy. That's going to be a game changer if they really fine tune that and get that, because ultimately, just like any other platform, they want you to stay all in house, right? They don't want you to be getting all these other widgets and other apps to be able to do other things. They want you to just stay here with them, right? That's the whole reason why they started doing, which it's nowhere near the other platforms, but some of the automated messaging and scheduled messages and pre-messages and all that kind of stuff they did way back when. They'll never get to the level of Hospitable or even some of the other ones, but at least for let's think about it this way. I can't remember what the stats are, but I think it's like 80 or maybe even 90% of the hosts that are on the platform have 3 or less properties. So they're catering to the majority, right, with those kinds of things, as opposed to the minority, which is a growing minority, for companies or people that have multiple properties. So they have 10 or 20 or even property management companies. Because, for example, I know Evolve, they put their stuff on there too, right? And some of these other ones, property management companies. And so obviously they have a huge bulk. Their systems are going to be way different. So they're not trying to cater to them necessarily. Anyway, so one of the other things that I liked is the fact, and you brought this up because I think I had missed it, is you can see the distance from certain attractions in the area. So if they say, well, hey, how far is your property? Because those questions come up all the time. How far is your property from the zoo? Or how far is your property from the aquarium or something like that, or this restaurant or this place? And they can actually, I don't know if they have a good list of those attractions or if it's like the top 20 or whatever that is, but you can see how far they are and people can make their decisions based on that pretty quickly. And that cuts down hopefully on guest messaging and everything else. So I know I missed a ton more, and we can jump into that. But I would say out of all the releases, this has probably been the best one so far. And I think it benefits the hosts more than hurts the hosts. So
real quick, and I'm gonna ask, Fede he's in the ops, so he's been doing. He does the deep dives. He builds the listings. He knows the best way to optimize things. I'm more
of the pretty face.
I'm the pretty face. And midterms and I'm acquisitions. I get us into like crazy situations. Fede figures it out.
But who gets you out of those situations?
Federico, exactly. And that's why we're a good team. Pinky and the brain. And so here's the question. We picked up a few more units. We always keep going forward, and I wanted to set it up, and I was, Federico was doing something, and I was like, oh, I'll set it up. Don't worry. And I went over there and I set it up, and and I noticed. How long has this been going on? Because see, like I said, I'm a little bit out of the loop and setting up units and manually doing all that stuff. But it said, okay, do you want to give a general location of where you're at, or you want it to be more specific? And so instead of that, I remember back in the day when I was setting up units, it was a big circle, right? This is where they're at. It was a big circle. It's like a mile, 2 miles, or whatever the hell it was. Now you could show like pretty much where you are, like almost across streets. I was like, holy crap. I was like, well, I don't care. It's legal here in this Airbnb, So I said, well, just make it as specific as possible so they'll know. Because people want to know, where the hell am I going to be, right? Am I going to be close to this cool place I want to walk to every day? So I think Airbnb, I don't know how new that is. Maybe Federico can tell me, but I think it's a cool little thing that they added.
Oh, yeah. It's been around for a while. I don't know how long. So it is not exactly new, but also it's not that old. But I agree with you. I think there's a if you think about Airbnb and how it got started, you understand why people wanted some privacy before booking. Now it's more like in many cases, it behaves more like a hotel. So at the end of the day, if you have a booking.com listing or if you have a direct booking website, you're probably going to have your address listed everywhere. So unless you're trying to hide from the HOA or the city or something like that where you are located, I don't see why not putting something more accurate on your location, right?
For the same reason that people don't put photos of the outside kind of thing right? So
exactly. Those days are over though, man. It's not only just there's like softwares out there, there's there's companies out there that help people find Airbnbs where they're at, but it's just you're surrounded with that too. But you're just surrounded with the whole in your apartment complex or condo community. You're surrounded with 100 snitches right around you. So they're gonna if the company ain't gonna find you, if the HOA, they don't want to go fucking look up Airbnbs. They're just gonna rely on these people that live around you. They're gonna go look it up on the computer, Google you, find you. They're gonna find your Airbnb. So those days of trying to hide from being discovered that you're doing Airbnb illegally, those days are gone, man.
Well, so. Yes on that, but how much of it is a safety thing though, right? You know what I mean? Is that still a concern? Whether
it depends. I mean, do you have a Ring camera? Do you have a smart lock? Because again, I think you need to understand like where your risk is at. Do you have a property that is listed in your direct booking website with the address or in booking.com? If you're listed in booking.com, your address is out there for anyone. So why not having an Airbnb where, again, on Airbnb, you don't need to put the exact address, but you can put the exact pin in the map. I mean, if you have let's be honest, I've done the job of trying to locate buildings. Let's go back 2 years ago. This is when we just met Mike Brown. You may remember all this. This is like, I was living back in Argentina. It was the first calls that we had with Steve. And we were like, okay, let's find buildings that allow Airbnb. How do we do it? Let's reverse search, finding properties that are on Airbnb. Let's look at the photo of the building. Let's see if they're in booking.com. If not, let's go to the area. Let's just do Google Street View and try to locate the building. So if someone really wants to find your place, they're going to find your place unless you only have pictures of the inside, which is not very helpful because it's not going to help your listing performance. Because people like to see where they're going to stay, how the place looks outside, etc., right? So at the end of the day, if someone wants to do harm, they have a lot of ways to find your property. So I'm not saying on your...
Is that different for houses than apartments, or...
If you have a house, I'm 100% sure you're going to put a picture of the outside because people like to see how the house looks on the outside. And again, I can find the house in 20 minutes. Give me 20 minutes, I'm going to find your house. If I have the area, give me 20 minutes. I'll go to RDNA or Price Labs. I'll find, I'll pull the report. And I'm gonna find your list, and I'm gonna have like an area, and then I just go to Google Maps. I've done it. Not that I want to break into a house. I just want to get the data. So it is doable. Again, you can find it if it's on the internet, if it's out there. Now, is there again? If your information is already out there.
If somebody had the information that was trying to do something malicious, right? And let's just say, hey, we know typically short-term rentals, Airbnbs are going to be vacant during the weekdays because there's the slow part, right? So let me get 10 addresses in this neighborhood, and on Wednesday night, we're just going to go through and just ransack all of them.
That's when you want to have Ring cameras and smart locks and stuff like that.
That's true. And that's and insurance and everything else we always talk about. So yeah. But
I'm loving how we're turning people like they're doing Airbnb and now they're not gonna be sleeping. Someone that launched an Airbnb in a house 2 days ago, like, fight, they're gonna break into my house now. I'm gonna delete all the pictures and then we're gonna do better. No, put pictures of the outside. Don't be scared. Just have your systems in place. Have insurance. I mean, how many times do you hear about people getting, I will be more, I'm going to be honest with you. I will be more concerned about past guests sometimes than actually people on the internet looking for places, right? Yeah. But again, if they want to look for Airbnbs in online, they're probably going to find some database, somewhere where they're going to pull the information.
Now, how many stays have we hosted, Federico?
Thousands.
how many break-ins and how many, and I'm gonna grab, like you say, grab your ball and spit. But how many robbery or repeat people that came back that stayed before? How many times have they robbed the place? How many? I'm not saying it would never happen, but I would say probably the percentage that it happens just in the real world is similar to what it happens in an Airbnb. But an Airbnb would make the news, and a house break-in in the real world won't make the news.
Exactly.
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah. We only had it once. And they just like they was just like they broke in and they just jump out of the window when the cleaners came inside, something like that. It happened only once, and it was a property where we didn't have a lot of control because the old client, not the one that I talk about, or another client, just not following our advice. So,
yeah, it
always comes back to bite them, huh? Yeah.
So
we had a client like that too, actually. So we told them, it's like, hey, you should have got the Vivint system when we. This is one of our onboarding things that we have, right, as a standard. And they didn't want to do it. And so sure enough, and the thing about it is, if you're in an area that is already, not I don't say sketchy, but an area where it's a high crime area, I mean, you got to have that stuff, right? Because people are always watching. Yeah, well, they don't have to do that, but because people are always watching, right? Whether it's neighbors or just other people that are walking around in the neighborhood and say, oh, I always see people. So, and then you become a target. But anyway, aside from that, yes, it's all about systems. Post the photos. If you have your systems in place, you shouldn't have any issues. So,
the percentage is really small. Now, talking a little bit about the changes and the updates from Airbnb, I think something worth noticing that we like. It's funny because they were showcasing one thing in particular that we jump totally over because we don't relate to it really. But the main thing was about private bedrooms.
Oh yeah.
So that was the first thing that they were like they were advertising. And if you open the update, they'll say that they did two things. They updated your profile, and then they are also enhancing the rooms part. So let me talk a little bit about some of the changes that I've seen. So one thing is that they're creating like a passport where you can update your personal information. So actually, I created a new Instagram account that I'm going to be inviting Mike Brown to share a little bit because I want him to also bring value. It's called STR Guide. So at STR Guide on Instagram. And I posted like 3 days ago because I got an email from Airbnb saying, hey, we're going to start showcasing Airbnb host profiles. If you want to get more chances on being showcased, go ahead and update your profile before April the 30th. So if you were one of the 50 people following me, you were lucky enough to know I had to do that. As a new account, it was like my first or second post. Now, so I did it. And, funny enough, I updated that. I got 2 people reaching out to me asking for management services through Airbnb.
Wow.
In one day, which hadn't happened in a while. So that was super awesome. So they're updating.
Yeah, you didn't have to spam everybody like some people are doing.
I know,
because I've had cleaners and other people always mess. Yeah, so that's good when they come to you. So, and I know you guys. I hear you guys get a lot of referrals too from people. So that's even better.
Yeah, that was awesome. So that's one thing. The other things are they're I'm gonna quote Sean here because Sean posted a really fun Instagram that Steve shared this morning, like laughing at people actually taking his information and selling them. We don't do that. We praise Sean. Sean, I think he's amazing, and he's one of the people that I think is no BS. I think there's a lot of BS on the space, but I do know certain people are no BS. So Sean, the Car Walls, Live Let Thrive. I know those are when people go to. I don't say all the rest are BS, but I'm saying there's a lot of BS out there. But he was saying like, yeah, people taking my stuff and selling it. But something he says, I want to quote him. But he was talking in one of the past videos about the difference between VRBO and Airbnb. Because VRBO has been doing a lot of advertising. They've been hitting hard on advertising, and they were saying that only rent entire vacation homes. So you don't have a person staying with you and your family during your vacations, which is what Airbnb, how Airbnb was created. Now Airbnb is getting back saying, we're going back to the root and we are enhancing the rooms part. We do manage a room for one person. We have a client that we manage a room for him, which has been doing pretty well. I mean, it's interesting. We don't get the same profit that we will get on an entire apartment or house, but I mean, we have a business relationship. He has an apartment where 1 bedroom is available. So why not? We tested. I wouldn't onboard people just reaching out for management for a single bedroom, but we do it for one place. Works fine, and now they are enhancing that. And there's a lot of people looking for this because it's an affordable place to stay. I've done it in the past.
That's interesting. I've never ever heard somebody getting management for a room that's shared, and they actually live there. He lives there.
They don't live there. That's
okay. So, all right, that's different. It's funny. All right.
It's in the same complex where I live, so the apartment's right across there. So he has a tenant out there, but he has an extra bedroom, and apparently he got some vacancy. He said, "Okay, let's try Airbnb," because he was already doing Airbnb at a different condo, an entire place. So that's one thing they're enhancing. I'm probably sure that it's not going to be very relevant for most of us, especially operators and large operators. Now, let me tell you something. If you want to get into Airbnb, you want to have a management company, you want to do arbitrage, you want to do whatever you want to do, having your own a bedroom in your house rented as an Airbnb to understand the platform, understand the dynamic, understand how the whole thing works is a great way to start. That's how I got started. I listed my second bedroom in my condo in Argentina, started getting people, had great relationships. It was a little bit different because I was sharing the space with them. They were using my kitchen. We were going out for drinks. And I love that. And I stay like that. I stay like that in Poland, in Spain, in multiple places around the country. And I get to meet and enjoy, with people. And it's very common in many countries. And, instead of one of my very good friends from American Airlines, from Liverpool, he has a large house, beautiful. And he also rents his extra bedroom. And he's making, he's paying the mortgage with that. So again, if you're considering starting Airbnb and you don't know where to start, how to play around with the listing, how it works, great way to start. If you have spare bedroom, go list it out. Just maybe for a month, but to get a good knowledge and grasp on how the Airbnb dynamic is.
Damn. That's good. Mike Brown, I was going to ask you something you brought up too about the new update where co-hosts can share, or the host can share the money with co-hosts. How does that work?
Oh man. Yeah, that can be a game changer. And we haven't tried to make that switch yet, but so what he's talking about is essentially a lot of co-hosts and or management companies that are co-hosts to other operators or people that have listings. Typically what happens is they are paid a fee at the end of the month or the beginning of the month as a percentage of the gross revenue that person made from that listing or multiple listings. So let's just say, I'm managing or I'm a co-host for an operator or a person that has a listing, and our fee is 20%, and they made $1,000 that month. So we get 200, they keep 800. So as you know, when those bookings come in, there's going to be multiple bookings that come in throughout the month, right? So that money is going to be coming in, throughout the entire month. But as a co-host or as a management company, you don't get that cut until the booking actually comes in and they stay. You basically don't get that until the end of the month or the beginning of the next month, right? So now the host payouts can be split between the host and the co-host. So as a co-host or a management company, that allows you to have better cash flow because now you're getting that money as it happens in real time, as opposed to waiting or having that delay, right? This works hand in hand too, because, if you are taking on, as I know some management companies and some co-hosts do, if you're taking on the fees for cleaning every time, that's also a carrying cost that you have throughout the entire month too. If you're getting reimbursed for that and you're getting that 20% or 15%, whatever that is that you're charging that host. So I think it's a great way to be able to help with cash flow. Now, my thing is, are those split payouts going to be 100%? Or is Airbnb going to be trying to take a cut of that too? Right? So we haven't seen what that looks like yet, unless you've tried it, Fede. But I think if it's a normal payout, but it's just split, just like you would do if you wanted one listing's revenue to go to one bank account versus another bank account kind of thing, or if you're using PayPal versus a bank account. If it works like that, where you're getting 100% of that payout, then great. I think it's a great idea, to be honest. The only thing about that, though, is I wonder from an accounting standpoint, let's just say if there are scenarios where refunds have to be done or some other concessions and things of that nature, how does that work, right? Because you've already gotten the payout as a co-host, and then you have to give, you know what I mean? So there may be some reconciliation, whereas you would normally do all that at the end of the month, right? And then send the invoice to the client. So that would be my only feedback on that, but I think it's a great idea.
I'll try to test it out with one account of mine that co-hosts another account of mine. So just to see how it works. I like to test things. I always like to do a beta on everything before launching, because my only struggle is that we charge management fee after clean. So calculating that is going to be a little bit challenging. So I may need to restructure the way that we do our calculations, just for the sake of automating a big chunk of the month. Steve knows how I get on the last 2 days and first 2 days of the month, which is when he calls me out of the blue and I say, "Give me a minute.
Give me a second." Yeah. Oh, it's bad when it's a minute. That's a long time.
Oh yeah.
No, it does get stressful, and not only do you say, okay, you're not going to get paid till the first of the month of the following month, but you got clients, man. Sometimes they don't pay until a little bit later. So yeah, you might be waiting on your money for a long time. And we've gone through, we used to pay for everybody's cleanings, and we finally got it to where they're paying, and then we get reimbursed or whatever. So we'd be getting to the finish line a little light. And we handed that back off to them. So that's helped a lot.
It's been a learning experience, growing a management company. There's no course out there that's going to teach you how to create a management company.
Except our course. Buy it.
Not yet. Not yet.
Yeah. Which is where we're going to.
You just created your own idea, Fede. There you go, right there.
There we go.
That's the reason why we had this show.
And we're going to show you. We're going to learn all of this. You're going to learn all of this. We're going to teach all of this. Because really, those are the things that no one teach you. And at the beginning, it's like you want to learn clients, right? And then our first client, it was like, yeah, they had their own listing, and then we listed in our account. It was a mess, right? So we had a few listings in our account because we didn't understand how the co-host part worked, who's taking the payments. It was a whole mess, right? It was a whole mess. Then I decided, okay, everyone's going to have their own account. I'm going to have access to their account and their email for claim purposes, but you're the owner of your account for liability reasons.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're going to get the payouts, but you need to pay the cleaners. Now, I don't want you to be paying every cleaning. So Turno, shout out to Turno. I love Turno Airbnb. They just connect the payment option, and we pay through Turno to the cleaners. So it's automated. You know how I am. I consider myself, I have a little bit of ADHD or whatever it's called, and I'm also very late. There's a quote that it really resonated with me that Bill Gates said he only hires lazy people because they find an easy way to do things. That's the way I am. It's not that I'm lazy. I don't like repetitive. I can't do things over and over again all the time. So if anything takes 3 clicks and I have to do it 3 times, I'm gonna spend more time doing trying to automate it than doing it. That's me. That's how I work. So I like to automate everything. So then I know at the end of the day, it's going to work like a breeze. We didn't get to the point of automating all of this invoicing part because I need to make sure that we're not leaving money on the table, or we're not invoicing incorrectly or clients and, overcharging them. So even though I have my team to do all the bookkeeping and having it ready to invoice, at the end of the month, I like to go and actually review absolutely everything. And then my business partner does accounting in a napkin from Starbucks, and that makes it a little bit complicated, but we figure it out.
Notes. I use notes for everything. That's my thing, man.
It's the same. It's a virtual napkin.
Handwriting is a lost art, man. Handwriting is a lost art.
Oh, dude, I love handwriting. That's how I retain things. If I don't write it down, I forget about it. But
can I throw another 3 updates and we discuss about them?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, see, real quick, I'm gonna introduce you guys as you're the guys. You're the ops people. You know that y'all are in it, and y'all are always looking. Like Mike Brown mentioned, every day he wakes up and he's starting to he's feeding himself with not carbs because you don't eat carbs, but a steady diet of short-term rental information, Airbnb information. He loves to devour that stuff. So does Federico, you know. And me and Mike are a bit different. I mean, we're in that a little bit, but we're just different than you guys. You guys are like you get into the nitty gritty, and that's why I love hearing you guys talk.
Yeah, what are you short-term rental nerds?
There you go. That's a good one, actually.
So, yeah, man.
Yeah, I mean, the thing too is, I mean, more so you guys than us because we just started doing management and co-hosting earlier this year or late last year, really. And I mean, you see way more. And I think that's another great, important thing and smart thing that you all did to get into co-hosting and management, because now you can gain more experience faster, right? You gain more experience because not only you have more doors, but you have more types of doors, different locations, different cities. And so 1, that allows you to get that experience. 2, it helps you and your team more than anything become more adaptive, right? Thinking on the fly, knowing how certain situations that could come up, because let's just say, I don't know, I've never had a property on a coastal city and have to worry about sand being in the property. And there's a certain way you have to clean to make sure you get sand, or there's a certain types of rules that you tell guests about to minimize sand. So all those kinds of things, right? That you wouldn't otherwise have known or so I think that's just super important. That's smart. And I think anybody that has multiple doors, I would say any more than 5 or 7 doors, should at least have 1 or more in their portfolio that they're doing co-hosting on. Ideally, if it's in their own city, that's great. Maybe that's where you have your boots on the ground, so on and so forth. And we always recommend, if you want to start in your backyard, but don't necessarily stay there. Because as we've known, with changes with regulations and things of that nature, with diversification, you always want to spread your
the eggs in different baskets.
Yeah, your eggs in different baskets, so that you have that diversification and you're minimizing risk. At the end of the day, that's all we're trying to do is maximize profits, provide a great experience while minimizing risk. That's all it is.
And that's the cool thing about hosting. Your risk is going to be very low. I would say basically non-risk. I mean, there's certain risk, but it's risk low.
I will say, let's talk about that. What happened in Florida? Or
no.
Oh, well,
we brought it up a lot of times already.
Yeah.
No, it's okay.
There is risk,
but you know,
everything.
You're talking about new place where she's launching a property in 29 pounds, which is surrounds the Joshua Tree National Park. I love, man. This country has so many good names of towns. Truth of there, like, man, I just like to zoom in the map. I have a friend from Argentina. We just
Truth or consequences.
I love maps, so I'm a map nerd freak, and I just open Google Maps and I just zoom anywhere. It's like, yeah, you get to stake Idaho and stop. This one real. Stop Georgia and things like that.
Wow.
I just love the names. It's amazing. Anyways, it's just my brain, my ADHD. Just going back to a little bit on the updates from Airbnb. I want to mention a few and we can discuss. Number 1, highlighting infant and children-friendly properties. This is huge. Number 2, appeals for blocked bookings. I don't know if you noticed, but many times you get an inquiry from people saying, hey, I can't book. I don't know why. And you see that inquiry is blocked by Airbnb because they realize there's a high chance that it's a party because it's a local, last minute, no reviews, age, whatever. And now they can, and back in the days, it was like doing a direct booking or sending them to BRBO. But if it already was like a flag, you're exposing yourself to more risk. But now you can appeal that, pay by bank for 28 days or longer. So they're allowing.
Wait, let's talk about that one because I think I missed that one. What does that mean?
So now if you want to stay for 28 days or longer, you can pay using a bank transfer.
Huh, you can do that before. It had to be a credit card, I guess, right? Or a debit card.
Nice.
And number 4, and this is welcome to inflation. I come from Argentina, where you pay your hairdresser in installments. We partner with a Klarna, so you can pay in 4 interest-free payments, US and Canada, or monthly for over $500 US only. I'm sad to read this because that's Argentina, so that's what I'm escaping from.
Well, it's kind of VRBO's always done that though. You break up the payment.
Yeah, you break the payment 2 or 3.
Yeah,
like three payments, 2 to 3.
Well, but here's the difference.
Is it you break up the payments before you arrive or during?
Right, that's the difference. No, that's the difference. This is financed after. So if it's interest, is whatever is the payment plan, whatever is the payment structure, you're gonna finance that into the future. VRBO is like, if you're think about, again, going back to what Sean explained, right? Is VRBO is a more of a vacation rental type of property, and they usually book far in advance. So they say, okay, if you want to plan your vacations in the next 3 months, pay 50% now and 50% 14 days before arrival. This is like, I want to book for tonight, I'm going to pay in the next 4 months.
Okay. Financing your trip. People would put it on credit cards. I see what you're saying.
So
one thing stood out. Appealing was really big because we've, especially in our ghetto places, right? Like a nice booking will come along and Airbnb say, no, don't accept them. They're bad people. I'm like, dude, these are our ghetto units. We want bad people in these units. We don't want people.
we made our money from smoking claims.
So the fact that we can do that is powerful, especially that little clump of properties that we got is not the highest end properties. That's going to help us a lot.
But if I can say something about that, Steve, it is important to keep in mind that each market behaves differently. And if you're talking about urban markets, downtown markets, you get a lot of last minute bookings. Get away with the wife or the lover for the night. Yeah, we've got a bunch of those. Coming for the city for a game, for a play, for whatever it is. We get a lot of last minute. And this is people that usually live in the suburbs that are coming into town for an event, and they're going to drink and they don't want to drive, and we welcome them because it's a safety issue.
Safety, yeah.
Right? So, do I pay an Uber for $50, or do I take the car, get a free parking, and pay $140 and get a nice place to stay over the night, leave the kids with the nanny or something? For us, it's great, but again, a lot of people were just being blocked from booking. But so that is actually great.
Yeah. And then you mentioned infant and children, making your place more, more visible or announcing it better. And once
I was gonna say, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
No, what were you saying real quick?
I was saying, so Fede, what does that visibility mean? So is it based on the amenities that you have checked?
Yeah.
So if you have a crib, you have baby cookware, you have a changing station, all that stuff. Is that what that?
Yeah, and if you pay attention, Airbnb has been expanding those amenity lists, and it's been making it longer and longer over the time. And we do try to have some of that stuff. And let me tell you something. So, for example, myself, I'm 32 years old. I don't have kids. I hardly understand the needs and necessities of families struggling with little kids. But luckily, I have Steve, who has 2 little kids. Marty, our partner in Houston, that we had 2 townhomes. It's all about her kids, and she really understands what people need. And she set up her properties to have all the amenities and safety gates and pack and play and high chair, and we do the same. And there are a few things that are really inexpensive, like the outlet covers. Myself, I stuck a knife in an outlet when I was little, so I know how important.
That explains it.
That explains. Like, give me a second.
Have that at every single property. No.
Yeah. So buying that in Amazon, it costs like $3. You can put it in a nice jar. I'm pretty sure that the parents are going to be very happy to see that. Because if you think about it, it's so important to put yourself in the position of the other person who is coming to your place, right? I know, it's interesting because I've been talking a lot about this week. I'm going to get a little bit back to, how I get about the experience and everything, but it's so important to me. I'm so big on the experience, right? And getting yourself in the other person's shoes. So just think about who's on the other end coming to your property. This is people that they're coming to visit the family, and they're bringing the kids. And it's going to be the first time that the granddad and grandma are meeting the kids. Maybe, you don't know. They haven't seen them in a year. or again, they're going for family, or they're going for an event. They're going for whatever reason they're coming. They're bringing the kids. Traveling with kids can't be easy. I'm pretty sure, Steve, you travel to Mexico all the time with the kids. Is that easy?
No.
Okay, when you get to Guadalajara, what is your stress level?
It's up there, man. It's we just want to get to the place, and just
I don't have kids. I can only imagine. So I was just guessing. So you want to make it easy for your people staying with you. So those are the things that make the difference and are inexpensive. It makes a difference.
No.
Because it's all about the experience. And today, sorry, go ahead.
Mike Brown, you'll find out when you just starts running around. Like you get to an Airbnb somewhere, like, holy crap, why did they design this place like this? Why is there knickknacks everywhere that she's grabbing and she could break them? And why is there sharp objects? And why is there tables with points? You know what I'm saying? It's just like, unless you have kids, you really don't think of stuff like that.
So you guys are supplying a lot of those things. Are you guys using baby clip? So you have to have the inventory. Okay,
we're supplying because when it comes to operations, it really depends on the property and your guest avatar. I know how big we are all about the guest avatar. For houses, I have it in place, so it's all there in our houses because I know that once a month I'm gonna have people with little kids. For apartments, where we're talking about that today with Steve, and given the changes, like, in some apartments we have, in some we don't, but at the end of the day, it's not really used. So we're like, okay, should we have it in storage? And actually, this is something that's important for people to know. Airbnb lets you put specifically for the pack and play and the high chair, if it's available at the unit at all times, it has to be requested.
Mm-hmm. So
in one of my buildings in Arizona or in Scottsdale, we have like 5 apartments. We have it in the garage. We have a private garage that we use as a storage, and we have it there. And we should make sure that we don't have overlapping requests over there. So yeah, but I think it's important to have those type of things. It's gonna help you. Again, at the end of the day, it's gonna help the experience of your guests. It's gonna help you land more bookings. So because you're gonna be catering to more people.
Let me ask you this, because we remember how we were talking about being deep on ops. How do you know that for the places that you have it in the unit at all times, how do you know that that's still there?
What I mean, that's still there.
And no one stole it.
Yeah, I didn't know that nobody stole that. Are the cleaners actually taking pictures of that closet with it in there? Or?
Oh yeah. So the cleaner. We work with the cleaner to set it up before the stay and to bring it back after the stay, because the garage is on site.
No, I meant the places where it's there all the time, like the houses.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the cleaners are familiar with what's in the property, so they take pictures all the time for everything.
Okay. I'm just saying, not all cleaners are not, because some people, they use different cleaners and all that kind of stuff, or they're like, oh, I thought it was in there, I thought I saw it, and so because I mean, these are the things that people sometimes don't think about. So that's the only reason why I asked. I know you guys are good operators, but I'm just asking for everybody else.
Oh yeah, no, that's a good point. And at the end of the day, there's something that's the cost of doing business. So from time to time, something will disappear, and we realize a little bit late. It does happen, especially if it's details. But you need to understand that it's the cost of doing business.
And that $40 pack and play could have got you a $3,000 booking. So it all evens out in the end. And if it is missing when the next family comes with the, where's the pack and play? We'll get them a damn pack and play for $40. I think it's worth it,
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So
yeah. So for the pack and play specifically, not to continue on this, sometimes those can't be picked up in store. And let's just say, we'll put it like this: somebody arrives at 10 p.m. or 11 p.m. They need to pack and play. I mean, more than likely, they're not going to get that till tomorrow. So
we'll have something like that a few days ago. It wasn't that. It was like, coordinating that we told the cleaner to take it to another unit in that place, and she didn't. And it wasn't another property, so we had to coordinate with the 2 guests to hand over the pack and play, because they didn't need it in the other unit. It was just left in that unit. I mean, those are things that can happen. But of course, because I'm a perfectionist, I freaked out. I was like, we set it up. Everything worked out. Otherwise, I would have jumped into my car, drove to Arizona, and get them a plug and play. Because I was like, this is a baby. We promised them a plug and play.
So on that, and I promise I won't talk about the baby stuff anymore.
Oh no, that's fine. We can talk about it.
As we know, sometimes people don't read listings carefully for whatever reason, and that's why we've been kind of torn between. Well, I mean, do we want to have it in there? I mean, we have them there now, but for any future ones, do we want to have it in there? Do we want to do baby quip? Some people may, because if you have it checked, they're not going to read, or they may not read. Is it there, or do you have to request? So they just assume. So when they arrive, they're like, hey, where is it at? I saw it in the listing, especially if you have it in the pictures too, right?
Oh, yeah.
If you're advertising that, it's like their brain doesn't see anything else besides, oh, I saw it. And so we actually had somebody
messaging.
True. That can be another layer, but again, everybody doesn't read everything. So it's like one of those things. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But to your point, I think, us as operators and just getting like deep on the ops side, you have to make sure that you try to address multiple points of potential failure, right? Whether it's messaging, them seeing it, so on and so forth.
Oh, yeah.
And or a backup kind of way of addressing it. But we had a scenario where somebody that mistakenly thought that pack and play crib was the same thing as a normal crib. And so, and our team, they had sent me a photo or whatever of the person bringing in a baby mattress because they thought we were going to be able to put it inside the crib, but it's not a crib, it's a pack and play. And so they said, hey, we're not going to be able to stay here because, we thought there was or first they asked, where's the crib? And I think that the team was like, yeah, it's in this area, blah, blah, blah. And like, oh yeah, we're not going to stay here because we thought it was a crib, even though they had the pack and play is there and they bought the mattress and all that kind of stuff. So, those kind of situations, could potentially happen for people that are, not necessarily reading or whatever you want to say. So, we can't foolproof everything, but we could try our best to be, transparent. And as you mentioned before with communication, and again, the VA should be trying to catch this stuff too. If it says, hey, they're bringing an infant, then that should be even more of a reason to ask, hey, are you bringing an infant? Do you need XYZ? Because they may not be thinking about those things. Because we've had people do that before and they're like, oh yeah, we will need one of those. I'm glad you asked. And so if we wouldn't have asked, then, it would have been on us. It would have been our fault that we didn't have it, even though they didn't ask about it before, right? Or requested. So
let me tell you that's why I love Hospitable so much. I'm a big Hospitable guy. I try different things. I didn't like them. I try different channel managers. I think at the end of the day, if you are focusing on Airbnb and VRBO, they're great. They're developing their booking website. I should be sponsored by Hospitable at this point. But honestly,
you should have a Hospitable hat, man. What else?
Yeah, man. Hospitable. I'm gonna reach out to them. I say, hey, listen, I send you so much business. Give me my money. But for real. I mean, I know you guys have great sponsors because I forget. I mean, in Little Try, I know. Cheers to
no, we're not with them anymore. We're not with them anymore.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Oh,
we're not right. We're currently we're driving without a sponsor right now. So, but if people want to reach out, hey, we'll take the phone call. What's up?
There we go.
AKA, that's a call to action for any potential sponsors out there that are looking to get, some sponsor dollars donated. So
some exposure.
So, anyways, going back to Hospitable, the good thing about them is that what I love so much about them is their conditionals when it comes to automated messages. If this, then that. If your guest is bringing a baby, send this message. If your guest is bringing a pet, add this to your message. Man, the value that has when you're scaling your business is immense. I just put it on STR Guide a little while ago. Like, for example, how we automate when the review period is about to close, a reminder for people who didn't post a review. And actually, I got a 5-star review reminding someone like, hey, we had 2 days left. Please leave us a review, right? Nicely put. But again, in Houston, we have the baby gates because it's 2 townhomes and they're like 3-story townhomes, so stairs. Marty, she prepared everything. Shout out to Marty, I love her. She prepared everything for babies and children. And she was, I was like, okay, so do we have them set it up or whatever? And she was like, you know what, just in case, always ask them if they need it. In case, because sometimes we had to remove them from guests that, if guests are bringing large suitcases, uncomfortable, so from time to time we remove them. So now in my messaging, every time someone has in their booking that they're bringing infants, we send a message. Hey, I see you're bringing an infant. Do you want us to set up the baby gates for the stairs? Now, in everything in this world, there's a 50% you can do, and then the other side has to do their 50%. If they don't mark they're bringing a baby, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Right? So
same thing with pets. Same thing, right? Yeah. Yep.
Oh, okay.
So we can for pets. What we do is because many people see that we are pet friendly according to our listing title, they assume they don't need to let us know. So whenever we have a listing that is pet friendly, we say, hey, just in case to let you know, since this is a listing since this is a pet friendly listing, please let us know if you're bringing a pet if you haven't done already.
Yeah.
I was actually talking to one of my BAs today, one of my team members. I'd like to call him BA. One of my team members. I was talking about that today because we're talking about the importance of customer service, and he's been improving his customer service. So yesterday I was scrolling Twitter when I woke up. Man, that was in my head for the entire day. So this guest posted a picture, a screenshot of a conversation with a guest, an inquiry. Hey, how far are you from the Louisville waterfront park? Guest question. Host answer. 1.3 miles. Pre-approved. Inquiry guest questions. Is that a walking or driving? Host question. The host response. It's the same. And the post like shaming the guest. Of course, you may think it's a dumb question. Let me tell you what I thought about. Let me tell you what.
Is it actually the same though? That's not possible.
Oh, point.
Unless it's rush hour traffic 100% of the time, then
Man,
good luck.
Let me tell you two things. Number one, if you live in a city like I'm used to living in a place where you can walk to everywhere. Not the case in Dallas. Here you gotta take the car. Now I check my Google Maps all the time. I do still walk to some places, and I know that it may be different walking than driving. Because if you're driving and you need to get in the highway, it may be faster, but it may be longer. So it's not the same walking than driving. It may be half a mile. If you're planning to walk, half a mile is a lot.
Yeah, and sometimes the crosswalks and bridges, you have to go a certain route because there's not a way for a pedestrian to walk across. And I get it. Yeah.
So number one, it may not be the same. Number two, that person may be busy because maybe it's a guy and the wife is like, yeah, for tonight you have to have the trip planned. Go ask about, find a place. And they may be rushing, maybe they're taking care of 1,000 things at the same time. They don't think what they're asking.
Yeah,
maybe they were asking a lot of hosts for the same question, and they may be answering in time instead of distance, and that's why they asked that question, because they've been asking for clarification for the same time. Maybe they're in distress. If they're asking for a waterfront park, maybe they're bringing ashes to spread ashes in a place. That's what I think. Because again, I'm big on hospitality. I'm trying to think all the possible scenarios and what's going on the other person's mind and situation, and you never know what they're coming from. You never know what they're coming from. And I have so many contact with people traveling for so many reasons. When I was working in the call center in American Airlines, I had people calling me because they were traveling back home because the son was killed. Because someone called me and said, "Hey, we're looking for a flight. We're flying again to San Francisco, coming from Argentina. Originally, we were traveling with our grandma. She passed away. We had to postpone the trip for a year later. Now we're bringing her ashes. I want to know what is the policy." Wow. You never know what the person next to you is going through. So if you assume that the person next to you is stupid, is malintentioned and everything, what's the hope for humanity?
Yeah.
So many times these people that they're in distress, or maybe they are distracted, maybe they're in a rush, maybe they don't want to. Man, you know how many funerals, weddings, birthdays I miss because traveling for work? A lot of the people are staying at your place. Maybe they don't want to be at your place because they want to be back home with your family, with their family. I mean, they're just staying in your place because they had to be there because of a business appointment or whatever it is. And I'm going to tell you something. When I was in a bad mood because I had to be somewhere working where I'm missing a wedding, I wasn't in the best mood with the hotel people on the front desk. I wasn't smiling all the time. But that's the whole part of people not understand why they're jumping into short-term rental because I think they're investing in real estate.
Now, if you're not, I'll just put it out there. If you don't feel like you're that kind of person, very hospitable, very, sociable, talking to people, and you have patience for them, and you still want to get into the space, that's fine. But just call Argus Rentals, and we'll be we'll be that face for you. You know what I'm saying? Or another great company out there that can do it for you. Or Mike Brown's company, they're doing management. Find somebody that compliments you. If you're like, okay, I want just a good investment. I know the area. I know it'll make some money, but I'm not hospitable. Find someone that is to be the face of your business because it's very important. So, man, this has been a great show. Thank you guys for hopping on. And where can people find you at?
Mike, go ahead.
STR Guide, right? Isn't that the new thing?
Yeah, totally. STR Guide about PPD living as well.
Yeah, PPD stays and Argus Rentals. So look us up, IG, Facebook, so on and so forth. We're really excited to be able to start this new journey and be able to educate people in a way that a lot of people aren't at this point, getting a lot of value. So not saying that you aren't getting tons of value from LLT, and we definitely want to continue that as well. But I think, complementing what they do and being able to add on another layer is just going to help boost things, everybody. So excited.
STR Guide, STRGUIDE. Go find them. They're badass mofos. All right, y'all. Well, thanks for hopping on. You can find Live Let Thrive out there, livethatthrive.com, livethatthrive@gmail.com, all that stuff. And you can find Argus Rentals. Argus is the largest, ARGEST, rentals at gmail.com. No, don't go to that one. I'm sorry. That's argusrentals.com. I fucked it up. Anyways, thanks for listening, and we'll see y'all in the next episode. Peace.
Have a good one.
Yeah.
Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of Live, Let, Thrive. Be sure to tune in next week for all the latest in the world of Airbnb and all that entails. Bye-bye.